She stood outside the restaurant window, watching her husband laugh with another woman. 23 years. 23 years of waking at dawn to cook his meals, mending his clothes until her fingers bled, raising their daughter alone while he built his empire. And now this. The diamond necklace around that woman's neck cost more than Emma had spent on herself in a decade. If you're drawn to stories of hidden sacrifice and cold justice, subscribe now. This is just the beginning. Her phone buzzed. A message from him. Don't wait up. She didn't cry. She smiled, because 3 days ago she'd signed something he hadn't noticed yet. But this wasn't how her nightmare began. 10 years earlier, Emma Carter married James Westwood in a courthouse ceremony. No guests, no flowers, just a signature. "My family doesn't approve," James had said, straightening his cheap tie. "They think you're beneath us. But I chose you." Emma had believed those words meant something. The humiliation started small. At their first family dinner, James's mother set only 5 plates for 6 people. Emma ate standing in the kitchen. When she tried to sit, her mother-in-law didn't look up from her soup. "The help eats after we're finished, dear." James said nothing. Emma swallowed the insult with her cold meal. She took a job as a grocery store cashier to help with bills. James worked at his father's investment firm, but his salary barely covered his car payments. Every morning, Emma woke at 4:30 to pack his lunch, turkey sandwiches with the crusts cut off, just how he liked them. "You're so good to me," he'd say, kissing her forehead before leaving. But he never asked about her bruised hands from scrubbing their apartment or why she wore the same 3 outfits on rotation. When their daughter Lily was born, Emma quit her job. James's career was taking off. He'd been promoted twice in 2 years. The bigger his office became, the smaller their conversations grew. "Lily needs new shoes," Emma said one evening. James didn't look up from his laptop. "Use the household account. There's only $50 left this month. Then make it work. I'm busy building our future." Emma bought Lily's shoes from a thrift store and wore her own until the soles separated from the leather. At Lily's 5th birthday party, James's colleagues came with their wives. Emma had spent 2 days baking a cake from scratch, decorating their small apartment with handmade streamers. "How quaint," one wife whispered loudly, "like a poor person's Pinterest." The women laughed. James laughed with them. Emma served cake with shaking hands. The years blurred together in a haze of invisible labor. She scheduled James's dentist appointments, remembered his mother's birthday, bought gifts for his secretary. She was the machinery that kept his life running smoothly, so invisible that he'd forgotten she was human. "Emma, where's my blue tie?" "Emma, did you pick up my dry cleaning?" "Emma, why is Lily crying? Handle it." She handled everything. When James came home late smelling of perfume, she handled that too. When he started mentioning a new colleague named Rachel, Emma said nothing. When he began working weekends, she packed him meals he stopped eating. The final insult came on their 15th anniversary. Emma had saved for months, hiding $5 bills in a coffee can. She bought tickets to a play James had mentioned wanting to see. He came home 3 hours late. "I forgot," he said, loosening his tie. "Rachel and I had to finish the Henderson presentation. It's important. More important than me. Don't be dramatic. Rachel's just a colleague." But Emma had seen Rachel's social media, had seen the photos of business dinners where Rachel wore evening gowns, and James wore the smile he used to save for Emma. That night, Emma found the divorce papers she'd signed last month in James's desk drawer. He'd forged her signature on a post-nuptial agreement, giving him sole ownership of everything they'd built together. Not that they'd built anything. He'd built a career. She'd built... what? A life of service to someone who saw her as furniture? Emma didn't confront him. Instead, she made a decision that would change everything. But that decision would cost her more than she ever imagined. 3 months after finding those papers, Emma's world collapsed completely. Lily needed emergency surgery, appendicitis. The hospital bill was $40,000. Their insurance had lapsed because James forgot to pay the premium. "We need money now," Emma begged, standing in James's office downtown. His secretary had tried to stop her. Emma had pushed past anyway. James looked annoyed, like she was a client who'd missed an appointment. "I'm in the middle of something. Our daughter is in the hospital." "Fine, take $3,000 from the household account. That should cover the deposit." "We need $40,000. James's jaw tightened. "I don't have that kind of liquid capital right now. Most of my money's tied up in investments." "Then liquidate something." "It's not that simple, Emma, you wouldn't understand." But 2 days later, Emma saw James's Instagram story. He was at an exclusive resort with Rachel, celebrating the closing of a major deal. The champagne they were drinking cost more than Lily's surgery. Emma paid the hospital bill by selling her wedding ring and her grandmother's necklace, the only valuable thing she owned. James never noticed they were gone. If stories like this make your blood boil, hit subscribe, because her revenge is just beginning to unfold. Lily recovered, but Emma didn't. Something had broken inside her, something that couldn't be repaired with apologies or flowers. She started documenting everything. Every grocery receipt, every meal she cooked, every hour spent cleaning, organizing, managing. She calculated her labor's worth at market rate: housekeeper, chef, accountant, personal assistant, childcare. Over 15 years, she'd provided services worth $1.2 million. James had paid her nothing. Meanwhile, his net worth had grown to $15 million. His firm had gone public. He was being profiled in business magazines as a self-made success story. The profiles never mentioned Emma. She wasn't even a footnote. At Lily's 10th birthday party, Emma overheard James talking to his friends on the patio. "Marriage is a partnership," he said, swirling bourbon. "You need someone who understands that your career comes first. Emma gets that. She's low maintenance." His friend laughed. "Lucky you, my wife wants a new car every year." "Emma hasn't asked me for anything in months. It's perfect." Because she'd stopped asking. What was the point? That night, Emma made a phone call she should have made years ago, to a lawyer, then to an accountant, then to a private investigator. What they discovered made Emma's hands shake as she read the reports. James had been hiding money in offshore accounts. He'd established a shell corporation in Rachel's name. He was planning to divorce Emma and claim poverty, leaving her with nothing while he protected his assets. The forged post-nuptial agreement was just the beginning. He'd been systematically erasing Emma from their financial life for 3 years, preparing for the day he'd discard her completely. But James had made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated the woman who'd memorized his passwords, who'd organized every document he'd ever signed, who'd been invisible for so long that he'd forgotten she could see everything. Emma didn't confront him, not yet. Instead, she copied every file, recorded every conversation, documented every hidden account. She still woke at dawn to make his breakfast, still smiled when he came home, still pretended she didn't know. But late at night, while James slept beside her, Emma lay awake making plans. She'd given him 15 years of silent sacrifice. Now she'd give him something else entirely. 6 months of preparation led to one perfect morning. Emma woke at her usual time, made James's coffee exactly how he liked it. She packed Lily's lunch, kissed her daughter goodbye at the bus stop. She cleaned the kitchen until it gleamed. Then she drove to the federal courthouse. The FBI had been very interested in James's offshore accounts, very interested in the shell corporations, very interested in the tax fraud that Emma's documentation had exposed in meticulous detail. By noon, federal agents were walking into James's office. Emma watched from across the street, holding a coffee she didn't drink. She saw James being escorted out in handcuffs, saw Rachel crying on the steps, saw everything she'd worked toward for 6 silent months finally happening. Her phone rang, James's lawyer. "Mrs. Westwood, we need to talk about your husband's arrest." "I'm not Mrs. Westwood anymore," Emma said calmly. "The divorce was finalized this morning. Emergency filing based on fraud and financial abuse. You can't—" "I already did. Check the docket." She hung up. The news broke that evening. Investment firm executive arrested for fraud. Emma's name wasn't mentioned. She preferred it that way. But the real victory came 3 weeks later in civil court. Emma's lawyer presented 15 years of documentation. Every meal cooked, every appointment scheduled, every emotional labor performed, market rate calculations, proof of financial abuse, evidence that James had systemically stolen from their marital partnership. The judge was a woman in her 60s, who'd seen this story before. "Mr. Westwood," she said, peering over her glasses, "you treated your wife like unpaid staff for 15 years while building a fortune you tried to hide. This court finds that unconscionable." The settlement was devastating. Emma received $7 million, half of James's legitimate assets, his pension, the house, full custody of Lily with child support that would fund her daughter's entire college education. James would serve 4 years for tax fraud. When he got out, he'd be starting from zero. Emma didn't feel triumphant. She felt tired. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" Lily asked that night. Emma looked at her daughter. Brilliant, kind, nothing like her father. "We're going to be better than okay." The next morning, Emma didn't wake at 4:30. She slept until 7. Made herself breakfast first, for the first time in 15 years. She enrolled in the business classes she'd abandoned when she married James, started a consulting firm helping other women document financial abuse. Taught Lily that love should never require you to disappear. 3 years later, Emma's firm was thriving. She'd helped 200 women escape situations like hers. She'd bought a home with her own money, learned what it felt like to be valued. One evening, leaving her office, Emma saw a familiar figure across the street. James, older, grayer, smaller somehow, without his empire propping him up. He saw her too, started to cross the street. Emma didn't run, didn't hide. She simply looked at him, really looked, and felt nothing. No anger, no hurt. Just the cool assessment of a stranger who'd once caused her pain, but had no power anymore. James opened his mouth to speak. Emma walked past him without a word. Behind her, she heard him call her name. Once, twice. She didn't turn around. Some people deserve your sacrifice. Some people deserve your silence. And some people deserve to be forgotten entirely, left behind like old furniture you've finally thrown away. Emma had given James 15 years. She wouldn't give him another second.